Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning. We have quorum in the room, so I'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to log in, and then we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Transportation Committee. I'm going to go through the agenda. First of all, confirmation of the minutes. Oh, sorry, no declarations of interest noted. Confirmation of the minutes of November 6, 2013. Carried. Confirmation of the minutes November 15, 2013. Carried. Communications is noted in the agenda. Item number 1 will hold. It will be a presentation and an employee recognition award. Number 2 is a quarterly performance report to Council Q3, July 1st to September 30th, 2013. Received? Thank you. Number 3 is the Hope Side, Old Richmond, West Hunt Club Roads corridor, Terry Fox Drive to Highway 416 environmental assessment study recommendations. Received? Received. Thank you. Sorry, carried. Where would we? Yes? Sure.
I see Angela Taylor here and VVG, and I just want to thank them very much for all their hard work on this report. It's been a long haul, and 9 months ago, no one would have predicted we'd be here. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Number 4 on the list is the 2013 Alta Vista Safe Streets Report. Can we what?
I like the report. I like where the councilor's going for that area. I'm intrigued in terms of what all of that will do for the community. So I'd like staff comment on the outcomes of a councilor's report like that.
Okay, so we'll hold that. And Councillor Hume is in the room as well, so we'll hold that. And information previously distributed, as noted in the agenda. And that's it. So we'll go back to the beginning of the agenda, which is a presentation. So good morning. Good morning, everyone. Today is a very important day for the committee and a very special day. Today we are going to recognize the extraordinary actions of a number of our city employees who are here with us this morning. C'est une journée spéciale, une journée importante aujourd'hui, car nous rendons hommage à des employés de la ville pour des actions extraordinaires. Most people in this room likely have some idea of why this day is special, but please allow me to paint a picture for those who may not. The city has several employees who work night shifts across the city. Some of these employees work at the Herdman Road facility. At approximately 2:20 a.m. on September the 27th, employees Chris Smith and Luigi Manoni were arriving at the yard, and what they saw took them aback. Giant flames emanating from a 14-unit Lees Avenue townhouse adjacent to the yard. Residents of the townhouse, including young children, were standing outside in their pajamas and barefooted. Fellow employee Rick Adams had arrived just before Chris and Luigi. Rick and Luigi quickly rounded up the people and brought them inside to the city facility for warmth and safety. Colleague Corey Hardiman had witnessed the fire from indoors and had made a call to 911. After this, Corey and his fellow worker Hal Wolf went knocking on doors to ensure that everyone was out and safe. Meanwhile, another city staff member, Dan Beckett, made a run to the grocery store for bread, peanut butter, juice, diapers, and formula. Throughout this traumatic event, these men and their colleagues made absolutely every effort possible to ensure the safety and comfort of the people impacted by this fire. They recognized the urgency and acted swiftly and calmly. They put others' needs before their own, and they truly went beyond the call of duty. Their acts deserve thanks and recognition, and that is why we are here today. Gentlemen, as I call your names, please come up to the front. Richard Adams, Daniel Beckett, Corey Hardiman, Ronald Lecomte, Jacques Leduc, Luigi Manoni, Mark Nichols, Jonathan Russell, Christopher Smith, Ian Talbot, and Hal Wolf. Thank you to each and every one of you for your bravery and compassion. It has not gone unnoticed. Merci à chacun de vous pour votre courage et votre compassion. Ils ne sont pas passés inaperçus. Let's give these men a very big hand. Sure. So we have a plaque that we'll be presenting to you as a group, and I'm just going to read it quickly. In special recognition of your selfless and heroic actions in assisting the victims of a fire behind 29 Herdman Road on September 27, 2013. Collectively, you responded quickly by calling 911, knocked on doors to ensure that the buildings were evacuated, and brought distressed residents to a safe and secure location. You went above and beyond the call of duty to ensure that the victims of the fire were comfortable by purchasing diapers, baby formula, and food. Your quick intervention and willingness to risk your own personal safety undoubtedly contributed to the positive outcome of what otherwise could have been a tragic situation. So I'm going to be presenting this plaque to you just in a second, but Councillor Wilkinson, as Chair of OCH, would like to say a few quick words.
I just want to say to you, as on behalf of the Ottawa Carleton Housing, because this was one of our developments, that your work really was noticed, not only noticed, but you really did save lives, and you did make a huge difference to the people who live there. We're working now on how we're going to rebuild and get that back in order, but what you did very quickly was really, really very much appreciated by all of us at Ottawa Carleton Housing and Ottawa Community Housing, and I want you to know it from our point of view as well, because it's really a people issue, and you acted like compassionate people that you are. Thank you.
So I'm not sure who's going to get this, but we can maybe have it in the middle.
Are we allowed to thank them? Demonstrating what employees do. Your residents care about you. Thanks a lot.
We'll move back onto the regular agenda now, and the moment that Councillor Hume has been waiting for. So, Councillor Fleury, you had a question for staff on item number 4?
Yes, the item is our councillor's efforts, or I think it's a councillor's report, right? Peter Hume, Councillor Hume's report.
That's correct.
I want to first off recognize the efforts of our councillor for his community, very important, good initiative. But I'm curious to know how we can, as a group, really improve because this is a speeding community improvement issue. How with staff there's collaboration, and how we can, if not replicate this model, see some improvements in our community and really support our colleague in doing some of these initiatives.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We work collaboratively with the councillor. I know my staff has, over the last year, been working with them with assisting with the pavement marking project, and we're very proactively looking at different types of options. This year we did our flex posts in schools and parks, and that was a very successful campaign as well. So we're always looking for ideas and things, and Councillor Hume's taken the leadership to move forward with initiatives in his ward, and they've been successful to that end. So again, we're reviewing and the items that and measures that do work, we can replicate them across the city. The challenge we have is that the funding is limited with regards to how far we can go. All these initiatives have been funded through Councillor Hume's ward office. So again, that's our challenge at this point.
Okay. Any other questions on this, Councillor Wallace?
In one of the areas under your comments where you talk, I think the recommendation or the request was to change even the size of signs or markings, and you always refer back to the Ontario Traffic Manual, but that's a guideline, right? That's not an absolute requirement, because I know it's your fallback position, and but you do take into account that sometimes there are local variations that are probably preferable to what the Bible says.
Yeah, they're a guideline, and so, I mean, there's regulatory things that we can't, but with markings and things like that, we can. I think the challenge here was that if you make the numbers larger, it actually may get hidden under cars that are parked. Okay. So again, we would look with the councillor to see if those things can be done, and maybe it's relocating them to an area where they would be most effective.
Thank you, Councillor Sheba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask Mr. Landry, it's clear from this report that it looks like something that will work. Is this something that we should do some more pilots of, that, councillors can look at using their budgets to try and test these things in their ward to see if we want to take it to the citywide level?
Yep, we would, we'd be willing to work with your office and do that with any councillor.
Okay, thank you. We'll be in touch.
Okay, Councillor Fleury.
I'll jump on what some of my colleagues were asking. I'm wondering if, since this initiative has been so successful, do you have a plan in the next, I understand right now in the financial restraints, but would the idea be to replicate this in areas and communities where you're seeing less compliance? And is it right now, from my understanding, is the hold-off is not saying you're not interested in it, is actually the cost of doing so, right? The budgeting aspect, is that correct?
Yeah, I think what we've done is we want to do before studies to say, okay, what the issue is there a speeding issue, and then and similar to what we did in Councillor Hume's ward, so we did some before measurements, we do some after to see if they're effective. The pavement marking was one that seemed to be effective. It reduced the speeds on average by 4 or 5 kilometers an hour, similar to the flex posts we did this summer. So again, we're willing to work with communities and councillors to look at areas and ensure that if they are put in, that they're effective.
And I recognize that. I was, well, first off, on Mulfall, the sign that's right in the middle of the road has really worked well. In Councillor Hume's area, the raised intersection along Alta Vista and some intersections have also, they're noticeable and they force you, oh, it's something different. They work. I'm wondering, in Southern Ontario, I've recently seen, it's like a painted on the, close to the intersection, and it says the speed limit. And until you drive close by, you have to look at it because it's not a clear thing. But when you get closer, you do see that it says, you know, the 40 or 50 kilometers. Is that something we've tested in Ottawa?
I'm not aware of that pilot project, but if you send me the info, we can take a look at it.
Sure.
Again, we also want to be careful on the roads we use it because we don't want people to start to get distracted looking at things. I mean, the roads that we've selected in Councillor Hume's have been more minor collector residential streets. If you want to, and that's part of our review and consultation with you to talk about the best type of measure that you could put in to deal with the issue.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've purchased 2 of those signs as well, and I've been moving them around, but I like the idea of the doily. How do I get one of those? Because the biggest problem I have is I don't have dolly, sorry, not dolly. I don't have places to put them on in some areas. There's only no light standards only on one side, or you want to put it in different places on the street and you can't do it. So is this something that was done through the department, or how was that done?
I bought the dolly that use, the speed signs are all mine,
Yeah.
the offices, and the dolly was bought as an accessory to the second sign that we bought.
Okay, I wasn't given. I've been buying extra brackets to put on the things.
Yeah,
but then
the dolly I'm going to look was much more effective in certain locations where you didn't have a
I'll get the
post.
information from your office, and I can do that. I
Absolutely.
can put that in my next year's budget because I brought 2. I keep adding every year, and I'm also setting up I've got a study going on right now on one road that you're doing on Knudsen, and I think some of this will be useful for that. I'm going to, if that's all right, I'm going to, well, I guess it's a public report now. I'm going to send it to the people involved in that study. But the other one is to, I'm putting together a committee now, which is not just on streets. It's Sustainable Transportation Committee is what I call it. It's based on one I heard about in Waterloo, and I'll be talking to you about that. Just getting the people now. Okay. So I think it's a good work done by you, Councillor Hume. I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. Councillor Tierney.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying some things like Peter. I'm following his lead on that. You've seen I took something out of my office budget for those flip down middle of the road signs. I think you're hearing from a lot of colleagues, speeding is probably one of the #1 issues in our office. It's kind of unfortunate that we passed that thing of transportation in the past, the $30,000 for traffic calming measures, and it vanished. But that being said, I think you're hearing the call for more of the ability to be able to have some kind of control as councillors on certain streets. Will reports reflect what works best and what we can do? Will there be suggestions to us what we can do in our wards? Forgive me.
Yeah, and I mean, we are trying things like the example of the flex posts. We saw those, and they started in Montreal, and they showed in Montreal that they work, so we wanted to pilot them this year, and they've shown here that they work as well. So I'm always challenging staff to go out and look, and if there's other measures that have been tried in other places, or even things that we've potentially think may be appropriate and may work, then we're more than happy to pilot those. But we want to make sure that when we do put something in, we've got the data to support that, you know, this is what it was before, this is what it is after, and did it work? Because we've done some things where, you know what, it didn't work, but again, you try, and if you can get things to work, because I mean, like you mentioned, the speed issue is the same thing in our offices too, especially on the residential streets that people just drive too fast.
And I guess just to follow up, just to make sure that if we see success in some of these things that we're trying, and again, if we had that $30,000, we could do a lot more. But if we see successful items, I'd be worried we'd throw out the baby with the bathwater on certain situations if something works, and we're like, well, we're trying something new, and we're always trying something new, but there's something that's proven and effective. How are we going to make sure that we know about that and that's something we want to stick with?
Well, we can provide an update to committee and council through a memo at the end of the year to see if, and I think we did that with the flex post too, where we sort of talked about this is a pilot we're going to try, and the plan would be in the next few weeks, because we are still tabulating the data that we've collected is to provide sort of a memo of what we saw with regards to results. But again, we're when something's successful, then we just put that in our toolbox, and when issues come up in the different areas of the city, it's potentially something. Like I said, the challenge with the posts is that there is a cost to it, and we just don't have the funds at this point to implement them citywide.
And we don't either, so great, thank you very much.
Councillor Moffat.
Thanks. Just an unrelated question. First, I just want to say I've never fully comprehended the baby out with the bathwater statements. I just don't get it. But anyways, the pilot project that we did citywide on the center line, the signs and center lines, when are we going to see that come back to us in terms of a report on its effectiveness?
I think the plan would be to send a memo to council probably early January. Like I said, we're just tabulating the data now, and we would just basically talk about what we found.
Would you bring a report back to us here?
That wasn't the plan, but we'd be more than happy to do that if.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems that this brings a lot of discussion, so I think that would be.
Okay, we'll take that as direction. We'll bring something early next year.
You're okay with that?
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good idea. Councillor Chernishenko.
Thank you. I guess I'm just taking the opportunity of the broader discussion and having a staff member in front of me who might be able to answer this. Chair, of course, can decide if it's in order. We took a number of measures on Bronson Avenue in order to calm traffic, cycling, pedestrian safety, etc. And one thing that we did that was quite new is the use of the flexible bollards to separate the bike lane from the road. Have we already tracked any speed changes? Can you remind me on how regular a basis we would actually be measuring, and at what point we'd be able to begin to say whether they are having? I've certainly heard anecdotally cyclists saying, I feel safer, drivers saying those are effective. I know where the bike lane is now, but is it actually slowing down traffic? How would we know that, and when might we know that?
Again, I know we've collected the data, and I think my staff's tabulating that now, but again, it would be something that we would let you know probably early in the new year. Again, we can put it in the same report to talk about how that measures worked out. And I know just from myself driving up that area, I know in the northerly end where we've also painted the lines and shortened the left turn lanes. That seems to have, at least from my perception, reduced the speeds a bit from what was there before. It's more enclosed now versus the openness which leads to higher speeds. So again, we'll see what the data shows, but
Councillor Hubley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Landry, I mentioned earlier that we should maybe be doing, or I would be interested in doing more of this out of my office budget, but that's really not the intent of our office budgets. Has there been any consideration of, it's too late for this year, but for next year, having a significant pot put into the budget for your department to try these things? Because this is not the only example of some really good initiatives coming out of your area. There's the sticks. I know last year, or a year before, we tried the rubber speed bumps. You're actually quite creative and quite effective in trying to find ways to deal with this. So how can we look at this process to get you some money so that we can start trying more of this stuff on a citywide basis? Because, for example, Councillor Humes paid for that. I paid for some things on mine. But not everybody has the money to do that, and the whole city could benefit from some of these initiatives. So could you address that, please?
Well, I can take that back for consideration when we develop the budget for next year. I'm not sure where we're at with regards to what the pressures are going to be, but again, we can take that back for consideration.
Might be worthwhile, too, to see if there is any discretionary funds or funds that come available in that budget for this year that we could maybe direct to some more of these initiatives. Okay. Thank you.
Any other?
Let me jump in again for a second. I do recall that in year one of this term, your staff had brought forward what I thought was a brilliant report in terms of putting some local let's say some local flexibility into traffic calming and dealing with neighborhoods, and instead it got shot down at council at budget time, and you were putting forward $30,000 per ward to do some traffic calming that would have short-circuited the rigmarole we go through now. maybe it's time to revive that report. It was great the first time around. Maybe we'll see the wisdom of it the second time. Thank you.
And any other questions? Councillor Flory.
Well, now that we've opened the floodgate on that issue, I mean, that's exactly, we have to give kudos to our colleague for being proactive and spending some of his office budget on it. I agree. This should not be initiatives should be allowed through our allocation, but that shouldn't be the driver of policy. So I'm in agreement with Councillor Hubley in terms of getting a report back for next budget relating to local improvements. How it's done through an allocation of money or through award-specific, 5 projects per ward or whatever that means, would maybe get the ball rolling on some progress across the city.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I guess the comment I would make is apropos of some of the things that Councillor Hume has done. I feel like saying this meeting has been brought to you by Councillor Hume. Maybe we need a sign to that effect. But as it was your report and there's no more questions, did you want to make any wrap-up comments? I mean, clearly it's going to be received, but...
I just think that if I could follow on what the department said, although we provide some of the resources, they were able to provide a lot of the technical expertise on the line painting, and we're now taking, as a result of some of the data that we've collected, some of the experience that's happened in other parts of the city. I mean, we went out to Canada to look at the flexible bollards that are out by the school, Dunlop School, and to take a look at how they could be how they could be applied based on the data that we had in our community. Because there's no question, this is the #1 issue that I receive in my office. It's speeding and traffic and transportation, and they don't want a traffic study that results in getting on the queue to wait for traffic calming. Like, you mentioned Alta Vista Drive. Alta Vista Drive was completed in 2008, and just this summer saw measures implemented. People are looking for low-cost, quick action on their streets, and that's why this type of activity and what the department is moving to is so successful, is because people see action in close proximity to their complaint. So it's a collaborative effort. I wish I could take all the credit. The department provides that valuable expertise, and really we just provide a little bit of the manpower and some resources to make sure that we're out doing what the department and I agree needs to be done in those areas. So.
Thank you very much. Mr. Landry, based on what we've heard today, I'm wondering if you'd take a little bit of friendly direction. It seems that councillors in this room, in any event, are quite interested in maybe using some of their office budget in the short term and maybe creating a fund in the long term to deal with these traffic issues. Is there a capability within your department to, I'm going to call it, an availability to make yourself or some of your staff available to all the councillors in the next little while to sort of say, these are some of the options that are available and affordable if you were interested, whether it be bollards or what have you. Is that something you could do, a memo to all council and say, if you want to have a meeting, we're happy to have the meeting, and these are some of the options you may be able to implement out of your budgets?
Yeah, we'd be able to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. So I take it the report is received?
You realize then everybody on all the resource we provided?
Well, credit due where it should be.
To be clear, though, it doesn't solve if we don't have local money in our budgets, right? It doesn't solve the issue. They know what to do, but we have no money to implement it.
Well, maybe Councillor Hume needs to give a little workshop on how to save the money in your budget to be able to do that as well.
Check the volume of calls.
Okay, so receive then. Any notices of motion for consideration of a subsequent meeting? Any inquiries? Other business? Motion for adjournment? Councillor Hubley? Carried? Thank you. Our next meeting is the 5th of February, 2014.